Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Already you can see him put his hands in his pockets, and that generally means someone's feeling a bit uncomfortable, and it can also signal a need for privacy, which is probably how he is feeling considering what he actually did with his affair. Obviously, it can also just mean someone's cold or they're looking for something in their pocket, but this probably isn't the case here. So let's just carry on with the video.
Rally for the community learning centers. I'm very proud of what we've done there. Now, I have to go back to work on my State of the Union speech, and I worked on it till pretty late last night. But I want to.
So we just saw Bill Clinton lick and bite his lips while he was talking about how he had to prepare for the State of the Union speech last night. I mean, both of these suggest he is probably lying about that, and he most likely was preparing for this speech. Lip licking is just basically a way to actually soothe yourself when you're feeling nervous or you're under stress, almost like how a baby sucks on their thumb. Obviously, the President of the United States can't suck on his thumb, and the next best thing he can do in public is actually just lick his lips. And like I said before, he also bites his lips, which is a very strong indicator that someone is withholding back information. And as we know now, that is exactly what he was doing. So yeah, we'll just get back to the video and see what else he does.
I'll say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
So there's actually a lot going on here, but the first thing I did notice was how he's looking one way and actually pointing in a completely different direction. So his body is completely incongruent. Now that only happens when you have a lack of confidence in what you're saying. Obviously now we know why Bill Clinton had a lack of confidence in what he's saying. It's because he actually did have that affair. It's almost like your body's saying one thing while your mouth is saying something completely different. I also noticed the kind of language he was using. So he was using a lot of distancing language when he was referring to the woman in question, Maria Lewinsky. So he actually called her that woman and Mr. Lewinsky. But if you consider, she was his intern, so they knew each other on a first name basis. So even without the affair, they knew each other well. So it's actually very unusual that he'd call her that way. So that was the second red flag that I got from this little part of the clip. The last thing I saw that actually fully gave it away for me was when he was actually referring to Maria. So when he said that woman and Miss Lewinsky, if you look very closely, you'll notice that his lips actually press together and his jaws clench as he's saying her name, both times, or straight after, sorry. Now he doesn't usually do this. If you look at all his speeches, he never really presses his lips together. And when you do normally press your lips together, it's a sign that you don't want to let something out. You're withholding information, and it's a way for your body to keep in anything in case something might slip out and you're going to say something you regret. And also clenching your jaws, that's just a sign of anger. So he probably does feel a bit resentful towards Maria for actually putting him in that situation. But at the same time, no, it's his fault as well. No, he shouldn't have done it. Now I'll just replay that clip again so you can have a look at everything we just spoke about. Alright, here we go.
I'll say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
So that was the last part of the clip. As you saw, he was saying how he never told anyone to lie, etc. Funny enough, I actually think that part is true, because if you do watch him during that part, when he's saying, no, I didn't tell anybody to lie, never, you can actually see his head shaking for no. But when he was talking about his affair, even though he was saying, I didn't do it, his head wasn't shaking. So there probably is quite a bit of truth in that. Everything's congruent, his voice, his facial expression, his hands. But then, once he goes back to actually speaking about the affair, you'll see his eyes look somewhere else, and then he starts talking about, I did not have this alleged affair, etc., etc. So he goes back to the same body language that he was doing before, almost incongruent. But yeah. In the next video, I'll be looking at his confession. And then in the video after that, I'll also be looking at him speaking about Maria now and what he actually has to say. See if anything is different. Alright, see you soon. Bye.